Hi, this is Gary with MacMost Now. On today's episode, let's take a closer look at panoramic photos on the iPhone. So taking a panoramic photo is a feature of iOS 6 and it only works on 3 devices. The iPhone 5, the iPhone 4S, and the most recent iPod Touch. Of course, if you're watching this video in the future, it's probably going to work with future iPhones and iPod Touches as well. Not clear if it ever work with the iPad, perhaps. And here's how you use it. You go to your camera app as you would normally. And in the camera app you've got your options at the top. You tap on options there and then you tap panorama. Then you get a slightly different camera interface. It has this box in the middle with a line and an arrow. And you still have the same camera button at the bottom. So you want to start by hitting that camera button and then slowly moving your iPhone from left to right. Let's use an example here. I'll just hover over my keyboard so you can see. And I will press the camera button and then I will very slowly move. And if you go a little too fast, you're going to see it tell you at the bottom to slow down. Like that. So you want to slow down. That means you're introducing errors. Now you can hit the done button there before you get to the end, or you can just wait to get all the way to the end, meaning you've gotten to the maximum panoramic size. Now here's some video of me doing it live and outside. So unfortunately my screen protector is really reflective and the sun's shining pretty brightly, so it's difficult to see the screen. But you can see I'm doing the same steps here. I just started the pano and I'm swiping from left to right. Here's the result of that shot, and you can see it creates a pretty cool looking image, but notice some things work better than others. All the static objects look really great, but if you notice you can see the same car twice on the highway there. It's because the car was moving, so it got into 2 different shots that were used as part of the panoramic. But it doesn't mean things have to be perfectly still either. In this shot I caught a field that was populated with geese. I couldn't have gotten this shot with one photo because it was a wide area, and you can see there in the patterns of grass you can see how it's a distorted panoramic. But the geese themselves, even though they're moving slowly, aren't repeated anywhere and look perfectly fine in the photo, like it was taken in one instant rather than over several seconds. And here's a shot I took in a museum, and this would have been an impossible shot without this feature because there are 2 huge murals on 2 walls that are kind of at about 45 degrees or maybe 90 degrees to each other. And I was able to capture them both by standing in the middle of the room and panning from left to right. Now here's a feature even people who use this all the time may not know about. You can actually go from right to left instead of left to right. Just tap on the box there and you can see it switches back and forth. So I'm just tapping on the box there showing the preview, and you can change direction. And then don't be afraid to use this going vertically either. The interface is going to remain horizontal here, but you can still go vertically, and you can do some cool special effects with this. For instance, suppose you're in a tight space and you want to take a wide picture of a close-up item like some books on a bookshelf. Here I was able to take a pano of a shelf here. I couldn't have fit this into a single image because there was not enough room for me to back up far enough to be able to take this picture. And you can see that it's not perfect, and it gets better the slower you move the camera. So that's the key, is some patience. Now in this case I actually was able to step back. I was just doing an example, and you can see here I did another one where I got the entire vertical bookcase here using a pano by holding the camera on its side and swiping from top to bottom. But you can see it distorted it. Of course it did, as you would expect. It kind of creates a neat artistic look. Not something that you would want as a real photo of the bookcase, but maybe something you would want if you needed a record what was on there. So after all, the one thing you may want to remember about panoramics is they're a combination of several images. So they're larger than if you took a single photo. A single photo may on the drive end up being 2 or 3 megs compressed as a JPEG. But this is several photos in here. So it's actually about 6 to 7 megs. And that means I can zoom in and get lots of detail here and actually read titles on the spines of the books, which I normally wouldn't be able to if I had taken the photo at kind of the normal resolution and then tried to zoom in. So for instance, going back to this museum photo, I'm looking at it here in preview, and it's about 16 megs, so much bigger than you would expect a normal photo, which means I can zoom in quite a bit and look around in the photo and see a lot more detail than you would expect from an image when you start with that. So here's another example. Here's a picture I took by the side of the river in Portland, and you can see here that the fence goes off in 2 different angles. So you can see it's a very wide panoramic, and I can zoom in and get quite a bit of detail. This is a 15 meg photo, so you can see I can get a lot more detail than you would expect normally from the image. So there's really nothing new about taking panoramics on the iPhone. Since the very first one, when apps were introduced, you were able to use third-party apps and take several photos and they would stitch them together. What is new here is a combination of lots of things. Being able to do it with a swipe and not have to compile the images afterwards. It does it instantly while you're working. Makes it very convenient and easy, and it works very well. So Apple's basically taken a lot of pre-existing things, combined them, and made them work very well. One thing that Apple does all the time. And a lot of people are using panoramic images to take panoramic landscapes, but I find it also very useful to take close-ups in unusual shots as well. So try different things. For instance, one thing I want to try is taking a panoramic by circling around a large tree trunk and see how that turns out. Probably won't create a picture that's very useful, but it might create an interesting texture of the bark of the tree. So the new panoramic feature is a really cool thing. It works seamlessly in a lot of cases, and in other cases you just have to have a lot of patience and have no real expectations of what you'll get, other than you'll get a representation of what you're seeing that may be more interesting than taking a plain photograph. So try it out and see what kind of cool, interesting things you could do with the panoramic feature. Till next time, this is Gary with MacMost Now. Want more video tutorials? Just go to MacMost.com, click on the videos link at the top of the page, and then you can view all of the hundreds of MacMost videos by category.